Good morning, folks. Thank you for joining us for SmartTank Training Thursday. We're going to wait a few minutes. I see there are still people filing into the webinar, so we'll give them a couple minutes and then we'll get started. Good morning, folks. This is Sarah Deitch. I'm a Customer Success Manager with Skybits, and from the entire team here at Skybits, we'd like to thank you for joining the office hours today for our SmartTank new user interface overview. So today we have another week with Faraz Hussain, who is our product line manager, sales engineer for the Skybits Tank division. He's going to be reviewing the new user interface with everyone on the call today. A few housekeeping items before I turn it over to Faraz. All lines are muted, so you don't have to mute yourself. If you do have a question, toward the end, we'll be answering all of the questions. So you can either type them in the chat, you can put them in the questions, or you can simply raise your hand and you're able to then, we're able to then call on you. We have to unmute you though, so don't mute yourself. You're all muted already. Once we are done with this, if you need to go back and listen to some spots that maybe you missed or you want to re-listen to, we do have all of the sessions recorded and they go onto the Skybits YouTube channel. So then you're able to go to the Skybits YouTube channel, please subscribe, and go to our playlists, and you'll be able to not only review this week and last week's, but you can review the other sessions that we did in the spring. We went from soup to nuts on the SmartTank portal, so you're able to find topics there for training purposes. And I know everybody wants to hear about the DoorDash coupon, so what we're going to do is at the end of the session, we validate the list, and then our team will send out the link to utilize for the DoorDash coupon. So I think I've hit everything I needed to before we start. So without further ado, Faraz.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Good morning, everybody. Once again, thank you for joining in for our preview of the new SmartTank UI. This has been a project that's been long coming. We've been working on it for quite a bit of while. And really what it is, as you can see right now on my screen, we have the legacy SmartTank portal. Those of you who have been using it for the longest time know how it works. A lot of the features that are in there in terms of the tank grid, the information, and the analytics it can bring. And we wanted to take this in for this platform that has been there for a while and really upgrade the chassis in and out. So what we've done is overhaul the way the system is accessed, overhaul the data presentation, and given it a bit more of a visual twist. And the whole perspective behind it is today in SmartTank, whatever tasks you do, whether it is from just viewing your tanks from your customers, looking at your internal tanks, looking at it from a dispatching perspective, or even just looking at it from an efficiency perspective to see how you're delivering, and let you get a more visual view, a much faster interface, and really take away the number of clicks you have to do to get to the data you need to view. Before I kind of jump on, just to talk about the same features, we've got the different columns that you can pull into SmartTank. We wanted to keep that along, keep it simple. So when you start on the new portal, you're not having to do any sort of a learning curve. We're going to continue to have the ability to have filters and the ability to add in and remove different columns and do searches within them. However, we kind of split the filters and options off just to make it even more simpler, create more simpler profile ways instead of creating this one single tank view profile. And right now it's in the stage that you can use it for most of your day-to-day tasks. For tank details, you're still going to have to come back to the legacy portal, but there's a built-in link that takes you here. So without much ado, I'm going to go back and switch to the new SmartTank portal. So the first thing that you see, there's a lot more visual going on right now. Bear in mind, we're pulling from a demo view, so some of the data that I wanted to show you may not be populating, such as the efficiency data, but it is kind of the centerpiece that you can see. What we have is a new dashboard, and what it really is that we wanted to give you the visual picture of what's going on in your tanks without you having to dig in. So if you're taking a very high-level overview as to what you need to look at, whether it's from, as I said, from your day-to-day dispatching, all the way out to almost like an executive or sales overview, you can do that as well. The delivery efficiency graph, as I said, is not populated because we're using a demo site. If a customer wants to partake and want to show it, we can use their account to show it. But really what it shows is how efficient you were in making your deliveries. That is the number of times you sent a truck or any of their assets out to the site versus what you should have done. So if you set your delivery efficiency to, let's say, 50% or 40%, 50% is generally the norm. We expect folks to hit 70, but the idea is if it is 50%, you wanted to let your tank run to 50% low before you send a truck out to fill it up. Now, if you were doing it before it hit 50% and it was only 30% empty and you kept sending trucks out, that was very inefficient. You're using up your trucks, you're using up your driver time, and essentially translating costs up your supply chain. However, on the flip side, if you were really efficient, you let your tanks run all the way down to 70%, and that's your target. This would reflect it based upon the delivery and the fill detection we have from the monitor data and also from within the portal. So it could show what percentage of tanks in the past 30 days versus the past 30 to 60 days were you actually more efficient on or less efficient on in terms of your delivery targets. And this will actually change based upon the organization you're in, what location you're in. So all the graphs that you see here, which I'll discuss in a bit, are reactive to what you have in the grid. So I'm going to close this off for just a second and revisit it in a bit. You can actually collapse these dashboards. You can bring in the map as well, which we'll go into just a bit. But starting off with the grid with something you're familiar with, as I said, we wanted to make it a lot more visual, a lot more intuitive, so you can kind of roam around it and faster. It's also very responsive compared to the old portal, so you can switch back and forth between different tanks. This particular demo site is 60 tanks. You can pull up 1,500 tanks and 15,000 tanks, and the load time over the existing portal is better by a factor of 500%. So it is really fast compared to what you've been using, and the old need to wait for it to load does not exist anymore. In terms of the columns, all your familiar columns are still here. Unlike before with the old portal where you'd have to go, as you can see here, to the options tab and then move them around and add them and remove them, we'll let you do everything right from the grid itself. You can add columns. So I can go here and say, let's add in my average daily usage for 7 days, and it'll automatically add in there. And that's all it required. As you can see, it's been added to the side. I can, instead of having to rearrange it from the options tab, even though we have it and I'll touch base on it, drag the columns around as easy as this, change their size by auto sizing them. So I can go here and say auto size just this column or auto size all columns, or reset them back to the defaults. And once I have this set up the way I want to, let's say this is a view I want to do, similar to how you could do with your old tank in the old legacy portal, you can now save it as a tank profile and essentially hit save, and that will go ahead and create your tank profile. You can also switch between these views, and they're carried forward throughout your day-to-day usage, throughout your organizations, and through your locations. So if I click in here, I've got all these profiles that I can go back and forth and switch back. What's different versus what we used to have in the old portal is where we had a combined filter and tank profile. Now you have the ability to separate them out, so you can now do a mix and match as you see fit, apart from the fact that they're also much faster to apply. The other thing that you can see right now, there's a bit more visual stuff going on, everything from the tank statuses to volume and communication status. There's also the volume percentage, as you can see. So now you don't have to kind of dig in and see, okay, is that actually a 40%, is it 30%, or where am I at? Just by your visual indications to what settings you have put into the tanks in terms of your low alarms or whatever, or your high alarms, that will reflect as to what you see on the grid. You can still sort through, so I can sort through up and down by tank name, I can sort through by any of these parameters. But another thing that you can do, which was not possible in the old portal, and you had to use the filters tab, which still exists, I'll dig into that in just a bit, is that you can filter straight from the columns themselves. So for right now, I want to go into volume and say, show me everything that is less than or equals 50%. Once I put this in there, it's going to filter down all the tanks that have 50% or less volume. And this is great because now you're looking at your dispatch processes and you're trying to decide, okay, which tanks do I need to hit right now, which I need to touch. Maybe I'm sending a truck out there that I can, take care of all the tanks that are on my could-do list. So you're able to now go ahead and do this and take this metric. And there's everything from in the range, you can do 50 to 30, 50 to so on and so forth, and get the exact sort of metric out from there. So pretty neat. It applies to not just the volume percentage, but it's going to be available in the tank capacity, the tank inventory, the tank alarm statuses, and so on and so forth, including inventory time as well. So you can actually pick out within inventory time what date you want to see the inventory came in. So you want to see somebody that hasn't called in today, you can filter that out as well. And that way you can check in what's going on with that monitor too. I've already shown you how you can drag and drop these around. Another thing between there's a tank details page. The way you would get your tank details is it's native onto SmartTank Legacy. You would click in and it would open your tank details page as it would pop up. In here, at this point in the stage in development, it's currently using the legacy tank details page. So when you click this, it's going to open the same tank details, but it'll reflect the colors that you see here. We are about to roll out a native tank details page very soon, and you'll see that come out as well with a lot of changes that are going to be put in there, including the ability to change not just the icons in the tank. So if you've got a tank that's cylindrical, or you've got a tank icon that you don't want to look at like a tank, but you want it to look like a gauge, compressed gas, so on and so forth, you'll be able to change that around, along with a host of other features. Additional features that we'll be bringing onto the grid itself also include the ability to add in additional user-defined columns. So you would be able to have those additional columns added in, which you can rename beyond the two that we have today. And then we will export them as you can, in the current portal as well. One more aspect of it is today, if you wanted to go view tank history, you'd have to go down, go to the history page, and then see what your inventory looks like, which is 3 clicks for you to do. And as you can see, it takes time to load, especially in the legacy portal. While this comes up, and hopefully it does come in faster, instead of having to go through this step to find this history and just see what happened in the last 30 days, here all you have to do is just hover over it and you can see what your inventory has been for the past 30 days. Again, quick 10-second snapshot that you can take, saving you the number of clicks and reducing the time you need to be onto SmartTank to get the tasks you need to get done today. Currently, this graph is available on the net inventory and also on your average daily usage for the past 30 days as well. So again, quick views, let you make the decisions faster without you having to dig in to get to your data. I've already shown you how to filter it out from the tank grid. You have the ability to change the columns around, add and remove columns, not just from this page, but you can get to a settings page here. Similar drag and drop that you can do, save it as well as an OK, sort it accordingly by any of these two columns. Similar to the legacy portal by either by primary and secondary sort, and then you can go ahead and change your profiles and manage those as well. Lastly, we still have the filters view available, so you can filter by all of these. Similar pattern, you can filter by the alarm statuses, communication statuses, all the way down to location names, and even your latitude and longitude. What you will also notice is that, as I said, whatever you do in the grid, it's going to cause this dashboard to react. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard in just a bit. We talked about the efficiency graph. The other thing that we have on the dashboard is what we call product market demand. And what it is essentially is we take the usage on all your products for the past 35 days and then before that, and then we show you which of your products had the highest consumption in percentage. The idea behind that is if you're somebody who's trying to plan out your operation and supply chain and you want to make sure your terminal is matching what you have being consumed in the field by your customers or by your own operations, you want to be able to get that information beforehand so you can get it out to your logistics guys, to your suppliers and vendors, or your factory manufacturing, and so on and so forth. So what it does is let you know that which product has the highest consumption. For example, off-road diesel is being consumed 17% versus whatever this product is, which I believe is a lubricant. So you can kind of cater out your production cycle to say, okay, since I'm consuming this for the past 30 days more, this is the product I need to order back into my warehouse, into my supply, into my logistics chain, so I can have it ready to meet this demand. The same thing which we've applied, sorry, I want to show you, we also have a legend available so you can see what each of them are, but the same thing we've applied to regions as well. We highly encourage that you set regions, especially because it helps you not just in filtering, but also in helping your day-to-day processes, and you should know which region you're tackling, whether it's dispatching or send, or as I said, viewing in terms of a sales perspective. And it follows the same pattern. What we say is if you've got regions defined, you can then see which regions have had the highest consumption. So if you've got particular regions that you have different terminals catering to, you can then stock those terminals accordingly. Or on the flip side of it, from a sales and marketing perspective, if you've got a region that is consuming a lot, its region is pretty much saturated, is growing well, you can start focusing your efforts on the regions that are not consuming well and see if you can grow customers in that area. So there's multiple ways to interpret the data that you can see right now. Same process, these defined regions that they can go into and see what the regions are, and it shows you which percentage they occupy. Lastly, we have graphs for alarm statuses, basic level alarms, your OK alarms, which means it's has no low and level alarm setting hit, your critical low alarms or your low alarms. And so as soon as you log in, you get the quick picture. Okay, this is what I have to do. Looks like I've got a bunch of critical lows that I need to tackle. Then I start filtering them out in the tank grid and start approaching them accordingly. Another thing that we have in there, besides the legend, of course, is that we also show you the number of tanks which are in that state. So you already know you've got 18 tanks in your tackle. What volume is actually sitting in those tanks at this point, and what percentage of your base do they represent? So in terms of the capacity. So you can start planning accordingly when you look into dispatching or looking at your suppliers to get product into the field. Usage alarm is pretty much the same. Looks like whatever parameters were set for this demo tanks, everything's okay, but it will show you the same information, whether it's an okay, reorder alarm, or safety stock alarm. I showed you how you could collapse the dashboard. So you can, if you want some more real estate, you can take it out of the way or bring it back in. And finally, we also went ahead and switched around the way the map looks like. So I'm going to bring the map in just a bit. All right, so bear this in mind that right now the map is using latitude and longitude data. So if you don't have that populated, you can go ahead and do that into your address fields currently. But one of the few things that you'll notice right now is that everything is clustered. So let's go back, look into the map that we have in the legacy. I'm going to pull this map up. And as you can see, everything's out there. I've got a few tanks here, but it starts to get towards the Dallas area. It gets really, clustered, and you have to zoom in to really get to those tanks and figure out how many of these tanks are in the same area. The way we worked around this was, let's create some tank clusters. Let's reduce the clutter that you see on the map. And what it'll let you do is, now that you know that you've got these clusters out there, we're going to be putting out a way that you can see the number of alarm statuses on this. So you can start digging into each of these clusters to make things a bit more neater and cleaner when you start looking to your planning. You can still click onto the tanks, you can still see the volume. There's more information coming on. As I said, this is still we're still building this out, but you're able to dig into each tank. And if you have multiple tanks in a location, it'll group them together. It won't show them as different dots as it used to with the legacy portal. It'll group them all together, and you can then browse through them individually to see which tank has something coming up. You can still go ahead and remove the tank clusters if you don't like them. So we give you that option to remove them all, and you can go ahead and look at them this way. But just another view of how you can kind of make things easier for you when you're using the portal. Once again, the map and both the dashboard are reacting to what's in the grid. So if I change around what's in the grid, it will cause, let's say, let's take out all the critical lows and only show me the good tanks. You will see that both the dashboard and the grid start to react with it. So they're both reactive. At this point, it is a one-way relationship. So what you do in the grid is what affects them. Eventually, where we're going towards this is you'll be able to click on sections of either the dashboard or within the map, and it will also reflect what you're seeing in the grid as well. So you want to have that reactivity back and forth. You can, as I said, still go ahead, clean up the real estate so you get more space to look at your tank grade or fill them up based upon what you want to do in your day-to-day activities. The serial number searches, as you had before, are still available. We took them from here, just put them on this side. Same parameters, same way to search. The only thing is they come as a pop-up now instead of going to a different page, so you can quickly get to those tanks as you see fit. Currently, as you go right now, the organization tab is not available. Eventually, it will be populated. We're going to be putting in tank details out in the next month or so. But in terms of your 80% of usage, what we've heard from our customers, from you guys, what you do day to day, in terms of looking into what tanks to touch, what critical load tanks to touch, which are your primary targets, this is pretty much good to go. And we will be letting you guys have the link to start logging onto this portal, start using it, start providing us feedback, and we will be incorporating all the feedback in terms of what we have as priority into our build structure, so we can incorporate those changes, those processes, those requirements that you as our customers have to build out the product that you want to use. So that's the flexibility we have with this, and we're very agile in terms of putting in those new requirements in there. We've got quite a few from other customers in the field. Some of the other features that are rolling out, besides the one I mentioned, there's going to be the ability to look into which tanks have been newly installed, which have just come online. So if you've got a new customer up that you put a new tank in there, or if you've got a new field, you'll be able to monitor that just by a special flag to see how it's doing until it, gets into a rhythm. There is also going to be the ability to go ahead and mark orders onto each tank as a flag. So what you will be able to do is, okay, I've already made the order for this tank, mark it as a flag, and whenever that tank gets a fill detection, whenever our monitors pick it up that it's got a fill, that flag gets removed. What it lets you do is, if you're doing a dispatching process in your entire day, you can mark off the ones you've done, so you won't have to go back to them and, oh, I've already done this one before. You can filter those done ones out and only focus on the ones you have to create orders for. Same idea, reduce the time you need to spend to get your work tasks done. The only other thing I want to point out right now, as I said, I can click onto it. It will take me to this other site, which is essentially a legacy site, to look at the tank details. Pretty soon, this is going to be native, so you will not have to go to the secondary site to log in, and it'll be as responsive as you've seen this site to be in terms of doing your day-to-day stuff. Eventually, we're going to have the notifications over here. There's also going to be a walk me available, which is really all it is essentially a tutorial. So when you first log in, anytime you can go in there and say, show me how to do so and so, show me how to make a new profile, show me how to do filters, show me how to sort and change columns around, show me how the dashboard works, what each of them tell me, what are the metrics, what is information that is being presented to me. And the idea is we want to be able to get you self-starting. If you've got new personnel coming on, you want to do a refresher training on the portal, you can get most of the information right from the portal itself, and it'll guide you through the entire process. All right, I think I've covered most of it. We already have the links for you for the 3G to LTE replacement guides that you can also access from here. And you can also look at the sunset devices. It'll show you which 3 devices that you have. Other than that, I think we've covered most of it. As I said, this is still a work in progress, but it is currently ready to use in terms of your most day-to-day activities. And as I said, the idea is if you have feedback, you've got ideas to incorporate into this portal, we're going to take that in there and build out the product that you want to use. All right, Sarah, I think we've covered pretty much most of everything on this portal. So
perfect. Thank you, Faraz. We do have some questions. I will. Okay. When is this rolling out? Did you mention time frame on this?
That's a good question. So This thing is live as of today, and I will be providing you the login. You can see this right here, but I think, Sarah, we can get it to all the folks who've logged in, and we'll be doing an announcement as well. It is tap.smarttank.com, and you will be able to use your existing SmartTank login. No new logins required, nothing special. As soon as you get the site, go ahead and log in. Give it, because it's going to be the first time, it's going to be building your profiles, importing from the legacy portal. So give it some time to pull all the data back in, probably in the first login. But from that point onwards, it is ready for you to use.
Perfect. So I think that answers Elaine's question as well. Is this available to all current portal users? Sorry, or is this an upgrade to purchase? It's not an upgrade that you have to buy. It's available. So what we'll do is, for the folks that attended, I obviously have that list. I'll be able to send out what you had just mentioned for us. And then, as for us said, your portal login and password will apply. And Gavin, I fortunately get to work with Gavin. So Gavin, you and I will connect on getting information that you're needing. Thank you very much. Let's see, I think that's all of the questions. Elaine had raised her hand. Okay. Thumbs up from Gavin. Thank you, sir. Kathy. All right, Kathy, let me unmute you if you'd like to ask your question. Kathy?
Every time I try to sign in, it requires me to change my password. It won't hold the password for me.
Kathy, that was a little faint. Sarah, I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't.
I'm sorry. Every time I try to sign into the site, it makes me reset my password every single time.
That it should be only once, Kathy. I don't know why it's asking you every single time. You're
Yes.
talking about the legacy site, but
Yes.
we have had a new policy implemented because we wanted extra security for our customers. There's an additional layer of security that we implemented that has a password expire. However, it shouldn't be asking you every single time. So if you can kind of reach out either to customer support or either send an email to Sarah or myself, and we can look into it and see why that's happening.
Okay, thank you.
I'll reach out to you, Kathy. I have your email address, so I will make sure you're good.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Anyone else have any questions? I don't see anything else new on the questions section. Nothing in the chat. Nobody's hands are raised.
So maybe I can kind of elaborate a bit more on Elaine's question since you brought it up. So everything that you've used before in SmartTank, all the features that you see are going to be coming as part of this, then including the dashboard and the updated maps and the graphics are all going to be part of your offering. There's no additional charge. This is the new SmartTank portal. We want you to start moving into this and start getting out of the legacy platform to get you a better user experience. There is going to be a premium perspective that we're putting onto this, which is going to be additional features. So those include the additional user-defined fields, and then we're building out what we call a complete BI dashboard, which what you see right here is going to be the full page. You'll be able to add in any graphical metrics, everything from, let's say, your historical deliveries over time frame, over different regions, be able to create your own customized graphs, whether it's by demand, by usage, by inventory, by deliveries, by efficiency, and then be able to save it to view as your graphical, almost like a graphical dashboard. Not exactly like it, but those of you somewhat familiar with Power BI, we're trying to do like a light Power BI for Tank within the system. I hate using an example, but that's the most common example I can give. And then you'll be able to use that same dashboard, graphical dashboard, to create reports and be able to send it throughout your team, similar to how you can do reports today. So just another aspect that's going to be part of what we're going to be having as a premium offering, but that's about probably another quarter or two off. And as soon as that comes online, we'll give customers access, same process, same feedback. We'd love to see what you think of the product, and we'll go from there.
Fantastic, Faraz. Thank you. Yes, and feedback is generally welcomed. Overall welcome. We want to hear what you think. I think a lot of people will be happy that the performance will be more it'll be quicker. The new user interface. I think that's the biggest one. Everyone will clap for that. So as far as today's session goes, I'm going to close up. I don't think I see anything new. Anybody that I had mentioned I'll reach out to, I will do that. So thank you all for attending. Again, we recorded this session. It will be available on our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and find Skybits on there, you can subscribe to the channel. And then we also have other sessions for training right there on the YouTube channel. As far as DoorDash goes, once we close up, we will then send everybody's names and emails to our marketing department, and they will be, one of us will be sending out your DoorDash coupons, so be on the lookout for that. Next week, we will be reviewing some information regarding the 3G sunset, and we would be extremely happy if you'd all return, including some, some other folks from your organizations if they'd like to join. That would be great. You can register for the next session if you haven't already, and we are super grateful that you came. On behalf of Skybits and the entire team, thank you for joining. Have a great day.